There you are. Well done, Aloy. Despite my reservations, you managed to secure Silence and his weapon. You're truly a shining example of Liz's fortitude.
I've been thinking about what you said at your house. How you were friends with Elisabet. It was more than that, wasn't it?
Perceptive as ever. You're right, we were together for a time.
Okay, so... what happened?
I was an orphan. I had always been alone. By my 30s, I was starting to wonder if that was simply my fate in life. And then I met Liz. We kept running into each other at conferences. We'd have coffee. At some point, it became drinks. I thought it was just shop talk, an exchange of ideas, but then I was surprised at how much I looked forward to seeing her. Soon we were flying halfway across the world every other week just to meet up. For the first time, I didn't feel lonely. I could imagine a future where I wasn't. I think Liz felt the same way at first. She had lost her mother a few years back. I filled a void for her. I know I did. But as time passed, it seemed as though she wanted less when I wanted more. And so we ended things.
So helping me, restoring Elisabet's dream, it's what,
a second chance, yes. I made a mistake leaving Earth while Liz stayed behind. I should have done more. So when I saw you, a woman who has carved her own remarkable path, beyond even what made Liz a phenomenon, I knew I had to help you. To do right by her.
You said before that you're not like the other Zeniths. That you never were. But you went along with all of their plans.
Out of necessity. I'm not proud of it. But complicity became a means of survival, both when Earth was consumed and when the colony on Sirius was destroyed. I did what I had to. But I resolved to remain one step ahead of the others, to try to undo what damage I could. Hence the data channel with Beta. The secret passage into their base and the little trick I pulled to save you.
When it's time to break into the Zenith base, what can we expect?
I'll go over the full layout once you've assembled your friends. Suffice it to say, we will need to push as fast as possible to Beta and Gaia's location, dealing with heavy resistance along the way. There are also printing facilities where the others have been amassing the natural resources they've stripped from the region.
What for?
First for use in the base's infrastructure, and then to fabricate more Spectre drones, a small army of them.
When I was out in the wilds, I saw a shuttle take off from the island, heading for space.
It was likely ferrying materials to and from our ship in orbit. After hundreds of years luxuriating in our digital comforts, the ship was barely space-worthy when we made our escape. Disaster can strike at any moment. We've learned our lesson.
Okay, so I've had run-ins with a handful of Zeniths. What about the rest?
An array of the wealthiest people on Earth. Titans of their industries.
And let me guess, all selfish and ruthless to the core?
Most, but not all. There were a few with whom I got along. Annika Murjani, for instance, was always delightful. She founded the Holonet's most successful dance channel and was herself mesmerizing to watch. And I had fascinating discussions with Song Jiao about her work in cellular biology. Our immortality treatments are due in part to her achievements. But then there were others like Devin Miller, the CEO of a fast food printing corporation. His only real preoccupations were perfecting his golf swing and taking self-hollows. When I think about all of us, we really should have accomplished more. We had eternity.
When I was in the ruins of Vegas, I found data on a man named Stanley Chen. I think he was a Zenith.
Stanley, ever the optimist. He was one of the good ones. When we established our colony, he built an exact replica of Las Vegas in virtual reality. Lights, shows, gambling, every detail perfectly recreated. And while others cloistered themselves in their own fantasies, he flung his doors wide to everyone.
The way you're talking about him, I'm guessing he didn't make it back to Earth?
No, he perished when our colony was destroyed. He would have been thrilled to discover that part of his beloved city survived.
When Beta escaped and hid in an ancient research facility, I saw another one of the Zeniths, Verbena. Who was she?
A dull star amidst a sea of brighter constellations. Unlike most of Far Zenith's members who amassed their wealth through shrewd business deals and technological achievements, Verbena inherited her billions. Her father had achieved great success in the luxury holotourism industry. At age 24, she became the world's most eligible bachelorette, branding herself a life designer. Someone who leverages their fame to influence the choice of others.
What, like a cult?
In a way, yes.
Well, she must have done something right to have survived this long.
She was her own brand of ruthless. That much is true. But even rats can cling to a vessel for escape.
So, Eric. Was he always a bloodthirsty psychopath?
I believe he got worse over time. On Earth, he was the founder of a profitable private military company. A band of cutthroats, in other words. Even as governments abandoned human combatants in favor of automated warfare. He found success with clientele that required a more personal touch. There were also rumors that he personally hunted and killed his targets. On occasion, all for the thrill of it. But on Sirius, he retreated to virtual reality simulations. In them, he could go on rampages as violent as he pleased, though I suspect with diminishing satisfaction.
All of his tribe believes he was one of the greatest people from the old world.
Then they would be quite disappointed to meet him, though I'm sure he'd bask in the adoration.
What can you tell me about Gerard?
He was the head of the world's largest financial conglomerate, and as such had dealings with almost every major corporation. It made him one of the wealthiest people on Earth, and certainly the wealthiest among Far Zenith.
What does one person do with that much money?
Buy more power, more influence. Gerard's always believed himself to be a refined patrician, able to maintain control with a polished smile. But beneath that exterior is a cold and calculating operator. It was his decision to restrict Beta's upbringing to her digital educators, the avatars of the Apollo database, while we were painted as her benefactors.
Well, we'll deal with him soon enough. And the others.
I would very much like to see his face when he realizes we've beaten him.
Why do you think Elisabet pulled away?
I've wondered that for 1,000 years. She was brilliant, visionary. She cared so deeply for the world, for the betterment of humanity. But it also felt like she kept everyone at arm's length, including me. She never wanted to share her burdens. I think, in the end, she had a core that she never let anyone be part of. Sometimes I wonder if anyone really knew her.
I found a recording of you and Elisabet back in the Proving Lab, after Far Zenith's attempt to steal Gaia.
Yes. A most unpleasant conversation.
She said something after the call. I think she regretted how things ended between you.
Did she? All this time, thank you for telling me. I've always hated that those were the last words we ever said to each other. And that her last impression of me was as a functionary of far Zenith, not who I truly am.
Why did you make the data channel look like your house?
I built that house as a shelter to weather any storm. A safe place, not just for me, but for the art stored in its depths, cultural artifacts of incalculable value. Truly, some of the greatest achievements of human civilization.
And you wanted Beta to see them?
Yes. Her upbringing was so cold and technical. I thought if she could experience Vermeer and Rembrandt, it would bring something else into her life. A heritage every bit as valuable as the scientific and technical data being drummed into her. I'm sorry I had to cut off contact, but I'll never regret sharing this house with her. She needed its shelter even more than I did.
Have you figured out how Silence's weapon works?
No, and he's been very careful not to allow me near it. I'll admit it bothers me, but regardless of how it functions, I am confident it will deactivate the other shields en masse.
How many of them are in the base?
10, including Eric and Gerard. Only a handful of us made it to our ship when our colony collapsed.
Okay. I'll let you know when it's time.
I'll be here until then. And thank you, Aloy, for giving me this chance. My past has always been a struggle. More than once I've lost everything. But when I look to the future, I see Liz's dream fulfilled. A universe of new possibilities.
Maybe we can make it happen.
We will. I won't let anything get in the way. I promise you that.